Secretary, probably won't surprise you, but I'm going to start with Ukraine. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions, but I don't want you to linger on any one of them, but answer the series of questions in one answer. Number one, who's the aggressor and who's the victim in the conflict?
Russia is the aggressor.
Which side do you want to win?
As we've said time and time again, this president is committed to peace in that conflict. Ultimately, peace serves our national interests, and we think the interest of both parties, even if that outcome will not be preferable to many in this room and many in our country.
Which side is President Xi pulling for?
Well, as was stated by both of you, we obviously understand, unfortunately, under this administration and the policy, under the previous administration and the policies they pursued, it has driven Russia and China closer together. So there's no doubt that China would prefer that Vladimir Putin have a good outcome. But it would also prefer a prolonged conflict that would keep us and other countries tied down and incapable of paying attention to the malign influence of China elsewhere.
One thing I'm sure we agree on is we don't want a headline at the end of this conflict that says Russia wins and America loses. And given the fact that all of our adversaries are communicating with each other, that's extremely important if we're going to continue to play the role in the world that the vast majority of members of Congress think we should still play, particularly now that our adversaries are more significant than they have been since the Berlin Wall came down.
That was Mitch McConnell, who is definitely actually still alive, if in case you were wondering. Pinning down Hegseth on some questions here about the Ukraine-Russian war, and I have some thoughts on Hegseth's responses here, and I'm going to give you guys some data as well as some thinking of other world leaders in terms of where this conflict is headed, and in fact the potential that is growing of Putin attacking a NATO country, which would essentially be World War III, because you would have a Article 5 of NATO be triggered where multiple countries would be required to join in on the fight if Putin was to attack a NATO country. But before we look at all that, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and share with someone that's into politics. It helps out the algorithm and boosts the channel quite a bit. So you heard Hegseth there respond to Mitch McConnell on a few different questions. And first off, I'm actually shocked to hear Hegseth actually say Russia is the aggressor in this conflict. That's something that I don't think I've heard from Hegseth or quite literally anybody in Donald Trump's administration. I would love to be wrong about that. If anyone wants to point out to me someone in Donald Trump's administration saying the obvious, clear truth that Russia is the aggressor in this conflict, you can go ahead and comment that down below, I suppose. But that's really the first time I've definitely heard it out of Hegseth's mouth say that Russia is the aggressor in this conflict. So good on him. Hegseth gets a gold star for recognizing what everybody else in the entire world recognized all the way back in February 22. But then you have Mitch McConnell ask, who do you want to win in this conflict? What's the preferable outcome? And Hegseth dodges the question, right? After just getting a gold star for saying the clear, obvious truth, he goes ahead and says, you know, well, we're rooting for team peace in the war. That's not an answer, Hegseth. That's not an answer, because there's no situation where Russia and Ukraine are going to both go, you know what, we both want peace now. Let's throw down our arms and stop the war, because it's Russia that has been committing war crimes, and it's Russia that has been invading Ukraine, right? So they're the aggressor. As he literally just admitted, Russia is the aggressor in the conflict. So how do we get peace, right? In a situation where Russia is the aggressor, you get peace by deterring Russia on the battlefield, so much so, you inflict so much loss, so much pain, so much suffering onto Russia that there is absolutely no way that they, in their right minds, that's a big caveat there. Russia is not in their right minds. I don't think anyone in the country of Russia is in their right minds. But basically, you have to deter Putin on the battlefield, inflict so much loss that they go, there's absolutely no way we can continue this war, and we're going to retreat, right? So that's the strategy behind giving Ukraine weapons, and that's the strategy behind helping them out. And I criticized the Biden administration for this years and years ago. You guys can go and find the videos on my channel. I thought that we should have been giving Ukraine more access to weapons and F-16s, which eventually they did do, and these longer range missiles able to attack Russia inside of Russia's borders, which are very valid military targets, despite NATO and the United States' reluctance to admit that fact for one reason or another, I guess out of fear of further provoking Putin. But when you attack a smaller country with a smaller military and you're attacking from different military bases deep within your border, well, those are valid targets, right? That's not Ukraine now being overly aggressive in the conflict. That's them responding and attacking valid targets, which I said a long time ago. And I think that we were kind of slow to give Ukraine everything that they needed, and we're suffering the consequences of it now, because Russia is looking like they are gearing up and retooling their army to, in fact, attack a NATO country within the next 3, 4, 5 years or so, which again would be World War III, because you'd get an Article 5 response. Article 5 of NATO states that an attack on one is an attack on all. And it's not just me saying this. Let's go ahead over here to, I'm going to show you some comments from the German defense chief talking about Russia's military buildup, as well as this short article here talking about it. But first, I want to show you Lindsey Graham here, our favorite politician, Lindsey Graham, kind of dogpiling on to Hegseth here.
Is Putin going to stop in Ukraine?
I don't believe he is, sir. I think he'll
What do you
go
think?
until.
What do you think, Secretary? Is he going to stop?
Remains to be seen, Senator.
Well, he says he's not. I mean, this is the 30th all over. It doesn't remain to be seen. He tells everybody around what he wants to do. Are you familiar with his military buildup in terms of armaments? It's well beyond what we need to do to take Ukraine. Listen, I like what you're doing. I just think we got to get this stuff right.
Got to get this stuff right. Yeah, not getting it right, Hegseth. You're not getting the parameters of this conflict right. Totally agree with Lindsey Graham here. I'm not sure what else he's talking about. The other stuff that he's doing that he likes, I don't know. Is that deploying the National Guard to California, or I don't know exactly what that is that he's talking about. But yeah, he says, is Putin going to stop? No, he's not. He says he's not. It's not a question of, it remains to be seen. We had Marco Rubio just a few weeks ago saying, we're not sure if Russia wants peace or not. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. These guys can't get a handle on what's going down here. And now what I'll show you, an article from Modern Engineering Marvels that says, inside Russia's relentless military buildup. artillery, industry, and intelligence in a new era of NATO confrontation. Russia is producing much more artillery, also with the help from other countries, than they need for the war with Ukraine. These are the words of Vice Admiral Peter Resnick, Chief of Dutch Military Intelligence, which summarize a reality that has shaken European defense communities. The Kremlin's military production is not simply to resupply expended ammunition, It is to prepare for a more general, longer-term conflict with NATO as Russian forces and equipment continue to accrue steadily along the alliance's eastern borders outside of Ukraine's current requirements. And this goes into some of the details here. In 2024, Moscow's defense budget jumped to $145 billion, 38% more than the year prior. So Russia is not being shut away here, right? They're not being bled out like, we might have hoped at the start of this conflict he would have been by now. And now what I'll show you is the German defense chief with some dire warnings in terms of where this conflict could go.
General Breyer, how serious is the threat facing NATO right now from the east, from Russia?
I think it's a very serious threat. I've never seen a situation like this in my 40 years of service. It's really coming to a point where I must say we have to be prepared, and we have to be prepared to be ready to, of course, being able to defend ourselves, but at the same time to do deterrence, just to show Russia that it's not easy to have an attack against NATO territory.
I think one of the biggest lessons, I would say, from the military side of this war in Ukraine is that mass matters, in other words, numbers. And the Russians have got a lot of numbers. Their army isn't very good, but there's a lot of it. And there isn't very much of NATO troops. Germany, UK, and others, we've wound down our militaries. Can NATO build up its forces enough in time before you and others like you think that Putin is going to have another go at another country?
You're absolutely right. What we see at the moment is that Russia is building up their forces to an enormous extent. We see that they're producing approximately 1,500 main battle tanks every year. And out of this main battle tanks, it's not every single tank is going to Ukraine, but it's also going in stocks and into new military structures, always facing the West. At the same time, there's a production of 4 million rounds of artillery ammunition, so 155 millimeters. And it's also not going into the war in Ukraine. So what we see is quite a huge build-up. And what we assess, and when I'm talking to all the analysts, it's clear that there's an intention, and Putin has stated it several times now, and not only Putin, but the entire administration in there. There's an intent, and there's a buildup of the stocks. And this culminates, I would say, and this is what the analysts are assessing, in 2029. So we have to be ready by 2029. Up to then, we have to speed up in NATO. That's absolutely clear. And we are taking our part in Germany for this as well. If you ask me now, is this a guarantee that's not earlier than 2029? I would say, no, it's not. So we must be able to fight tonight. And for this fight tonight, we are, of course, we are ready because we are soldiers, we are trained, we are educated, and we have weapons. So therefore, we can take this fight tonight.
2029, he's saying, and it could happen before then. So, yeah, deterrence. That's the key here, right? Because people go, well, what's this conflict have to do with America? Why are the Ukrainians important? Isn't that just a country way, way far away and they make some bread and that's all they do? No, we are a part of NATO. America is a part of NATO. Okay. If, it's World War III. If Russia attacks a NATO country, we will be required to defend that country. And so will all the other NATO countries. And I'll have you be reminded, if America is to get cold feet or something around the idea of defending a NATO country, Article 5 has only been invoked one time in the history of NATO's existence since World War II, the ending of World War II. Take a wild guess at when that one time Article 5 was triggered. After 9/11, when many different countries fought with America in the Middle East to destroy Al-Qaeda. And, it would be a shame if we were to back off of that commitment. And it's very much pointing to, Russia has not been deterred enough in Ukraine. And much of this is due to Donald Trump's complete lack of ability to see this conflict clearly and giving credence to Russia's talking points, at sometimes even propagating Russian talking points into the American psyche. And we're seeing the consequences of it. The consequences of it are that Putin is able to continue this illegal war in Ukraine, and if he's able to continue to see battlefield success in Ukraine, he is going to be emboldened to attack a NATO country. So we can stop Putin on the battlefield right now and send Russia back to where they came from, send the orcs home, or we can risk a larger regional conflict where American boots on the ground get involved, which is absolutely nothing that I want to see. I don't think anyone else in the country or the world wants to see that. So let's do the right thing and fight with Ukraine and give them everything they need to deter Russia. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.